This is Brownie's Podcast.
Welcome to Brownie's Podcast. If you're new to this, welcome. Degenerates, our bus trip. We're going on a footy trip with you listeners to go watch Nathan Buckley play in the bush. And we'll tell you how to get on that bus really soon, but we've got so much to talk about. Jonathan's... Hey, let me ask you a question, John. I saw you on the goddamn TV last night on the couch with Bucks. Did you fly home after that?
I went home first thing this morning, actually. I went home to see my family and saw the kids before school.
That's
went and did Pilates with my wife, and then on exiting Pilates, Dino, good morning all. We're recording this Tuesday morning. I was just sitting there just having a nice coffee, and I saw an interesting Gold Coast character, Dino.
Fatty Gordon,
I was seen on... No, not Fatty Gordon. Probably not held in as high regard as Fatty Gordon. I would say an older-looking Jonah Hill, an aging Jonah Hill.
All right, wait. Let us guess. An older-looking Jonah Hill. What do you got, Brodie?
Older-looking Jonah Hill.
So, like...
Yeah. So just picture this guy. He comes in flip-flops. He's got his board shorts on, a tank top, and those sunglasses you buy from the service station.
Dog, what do you got?
You know those cheap sunnies, with the the hyper-coloured rims.
Yeah.
Ricky Nixon,
and then obviously
Jonah Hill like?
No, Ricky Nixon is nothing like Jonah Hill. What do you got?
No, anyway.
I got nothing.
Who?
Well, no, it's just someone that we don't know,
What?
but he should be a celebrity. He should be a celebrity. Now, obviously, to me, he looks like he's had a challenging life at times throughout, but I tell you what, he just keeps on going. And he set up camp, so Kyle and myself sitting there having a quiet coffee, just discussing, reconnecting after being away for a few days. He turns up with a duffel bag, and he puts the duffel bag down and proceeds to set up just around us. So, first of all, he pulls out a big thing of chops. So he's bought a big package of chops from the local butcher.
What?
Yes, chops.
Yes.
Then some bread rolls, a packet of bread rolls. I thought, what is he doing?
Is this
he
in
gonna
public?
Cook up a barbecue? This is in public. Right, this 3 metres from where me and Carl are sitting there having a coffee.
What else?
He then pulls out the transistor radio from about 1975 and puts it on like a little tabletop there. And because he's a bit concerned about the reception here on the Gold Coast, he then puts a Red Bull can on top of the transistor radio just to drag in better reception for the radio.
The is this person?
I don't know who this person is, so I was really interested. I thought, where is this going to go? Anyway, we had to go. I thought it's time to maybe exit the exit stage left, just get out of this situation. As we walked off, I got up and walked off. He turned to me and goes, "Brownie!" And I thought, shit, he knows me. And I go, "How are you, mate? Look like you're setting up beautifully." He goes, I said, "Yeah, how are you, mate?" And he goes, "Taller than you." What is that? What does that mean?
He sounds like he's on drugs.
Was he taller than you? Was he close to taller than you?
No, he wasn't. He's about 5'5".
That's unbelievable.
Cooker.
Taller than you.
Taller than you.
Oh, man.
So every time I say hello to you boys now, you're going to say taller than you.
All right, while we're seeing people in the wild out of the way, I was at the Imperial pub watching Freo lose to Richmond, and I'm a prick, so yeah, that made me happy. Even though Eagles are so bad, I still get little joys out of the Dockers losing. Anyway, at the pub, we got Muggsy, Staker, and Chris Johnson.
Ooh, heavyweights.
Jeez, that's an all-star lineup.
And I couldn't hang with them because I had to leave with my mates, but my God, they were on fire. Brent Staker he's the coolest man I've ever seen. He wears leather jackets, and he's not old, but at his age, it's tough to pull off leather jackets, and he does magnificently.
He's a good-looking rooster, isn't he?
Jesus.
Yeah.
Prior girlfriends, some of his relationships didn't last because
All right, John.
his girlfriends,
Okay.
they were sick of competing with him for mirror time because famously,
he likes what he sees
took
back.
he had a 45-minute routine in the mornings to get that hair to perfection.
Now
He had to wax it. Mate, I'm serious. I shit you not.
I
So
believe you.
luckily now he's with his partner is Justine Schofield, the famous chef. They've had a child, so he settled down beautifully. But that was an issue in his previous life.
One more thing. You've got to call Muggsy and make him believe that we're not doing the quiz. The reason we're not doing the quiz is because we don't have a prize. I feel like we've broken the man's heart. He's so good at doing that quiz.
He loved that quiz.
He's great at it.
Yeah.
We just need a prize.
So after I left you guys
I agree.
last Thursday, I had to fang straight to the airport and fly to Brisbane. Obviously, I was going up there for a few days, and I was running late, because we were a little bit late and a bit tardy. I get to short-term parking, and I drove around short-term for about 15, 20 minutes, could not get a park anywhere. And then finally there was just this area that was painted over saying, do not park here or you'll be towed. And I just had to park there because it was the only park left. So I parked there, fanged to the gate, got on my plane, and for 3 days I had this stress ball in my stomach. But when I come back on Sunday morning, hung, big weekend, I've got to get straight in the car and drive to the VFL, right? That my car would be towed.
Before you tell us
It was
the
the
result,
ultimate gamble.
What, in your mind, what fine would have been okay? Because a fine was probably likely, right?
Well, I thought, you know what? It's such a busy time in that short-term car park at the airport, especially over a Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
I backed myself in that I'd be okay.
Okay.
So I get back to the car.
Yes.
I have a look. It was still there. So the ultimate gamble paid off.
Tickets?
No, nothing.
What?
No, nothing.
You
Nothing.
son of a bitch.
It's good, wasn't it? It's
you
about
think
time
they
I
would-
just had a little win like that.
Do you think they would struggle to get a tow truck in? Because they're pretty tight,
I took
confined
that. I took
spaces.
that all into consideration, mate. It would have been hard to tow my car in that tiny little
Yeah, because
park.
you wouldn't be able to get it in and back it up because there's obviously cars on the other side. So
Yeah.
you'd really struggle to be able to, for the dexterity, to back it around and then hook it up. So that's probably what saved you.
So it's good.
What a round of footy. My name is Dean Thomas, and that was round... Was it 13, John? I can never remember.
13 it was.
Buddy's 350th was... Well, I thought it'd be a good game, and it wasn't a bad game. Buddy booted his 350th. He looked jacked up. He looked fired up. He went for a soccer goal and missed it. But there's nothing better than a soccer goal. And you can guarantee when anyone scores a soccer goal, the commentators go straight to this sort of shit. Bit of Lionel Messi about the boy there. Might get a game for the Socceroos, that kid. All this shit. Someone better call Alex, all that shit. But there is nothing cleaner, nothing more pure than a volley goal. You with me on this?
Yeah, that's nice.
It's gorgeous.
Remember that bicycle kick a few weeks ago? What was that in the goal square? It was against Collingwood. It was amazing.
Brodie Myercheck.
Yeah, but there was one from Ashcroft as well.
Yeah, from the boundary, that was also very good.
That
Another
was
more,
a kung fu kick.
another more general observation. There is nothing that satisfies my brain more than when it's a perfect draw. What do I mean by that? When the points and goals line up perfectly.
Oh, so it'll be like 6 goals 13 to 6 goals 13, something like that.
I reckon it feels the same way Campbell feels when he eats every speck of rice after eating sushi. It's that satisfaction. You know what I'm talking about.
I do. I had Chinese on Sunday night, and I got that angry at my 2-year-old baker because he kept dropping rice down his front and around the plate.
Idiot!
And I was trying to pick it up for him and teach him my OCD habits. He doesn't quite understand it.
The most honest indicator of a team, if a team thinks they can win, is how hard they celebrate when the siren goes. Because when they're flipping out, deep down that means we didn't think we were going to win this. Am I right?
See, the
I love
Hawks.
that.
The Hawks! Which leads me to this question, Jonathan. What the f***? Over to you.
The problem is we've had a lot of issues against Hawthorn of recent years. We've lost the last 4, and we've only won 1 game in the last 14 at the MCG, Dino.
Yeah, what is that?
We were playing Hawthorn at the MCG. You do the math.
Very, very
We're
bad.
always going to lose.
No, you weren't.
Hawthorn were an absolute certainty.
You want to be
We
a
should have
top
put the
4
house
team,
on
you're
it.
going to win at the MCG. You understand?
Are some grounds harder to play at than others? Like, is it going down to Geelong? Is that difficult? Like on
Difficult.
Adelaide Oval, is
Yeah.
it difficult? Why?
Yeah.
Is it, how does it different?
Oh, probably dimensions of Kidinia Park, like they're different. So, and crowd, I reckon, over in Adelaide and Perth makes it a bit more difficult. But Yeah, it's probably all a bit mental, isn't it?
Carlton, what do
I
we
used
say
to
about...
find it hard when you would run it off the centre square, Dino,
Yeah.
at Cardinia Park.
Yeah.
And I played junior footy back then when there was still the cricket pitch. So it'd be a bit like an ice skating rink.
Also, isn't the SCG the goal square hitting the 50 line?
Smaller
the centre
it's
square?
a little
Much
bit longer
longer.
it used to be. Definitely, it used to cross over. But Cardinia Park especially, it'd get a bit slippery in there. So when you're coming in off the centre square and you line someone up, Brown Dog, because it got a little bit slippery, you couldn't get out of the way and avoid contact. So unfortunately, I clipped a couple of blokes and I had this reflex sort of... They had a funny elbow, this reflex action. Used to always pop away from my body.
Harry Mackay, what do we say? What do we say? He went for another one of those weird
got
snaps
touched on the line.
from 35.
I've said it already on this podcast. If I was a senior coach, there'd be no one kicking around their body when they can do a drop punt or they wouldn't play anymore.
Mate,
Simple.
Carlton are cooked. Let's just say it. Can we
They
say
are.
it?
Yeah, no, they cooked.
Yes, John?
Do you think maybe, have I had this theory, boys, that because Buddy will probably retire, maybe you'd look at, would you be open to Harry Mackay going to Sydney?
That made Vossi's press conference last week, and did he end up ringing you? Has he spoken to you about that specific statement?
I haven't caught up with
Nothing.
Bossy. I've got to catch up with the great man. He's under a fair bit of stress, I would have thought at the
And
moment.
if they lose to the Gold Coast Suns this week, all hell will break loose.
Oh!
Did you see that all the fans were starting to boo the players as they walk
Saw
off?
that.
That's when
that's not
when
cool.
you know things are bad, when your team starts booing your players for the performance they put on.
2004, we got absolutely pumped, and by the Doggies. I feel like we kicked like 3 goals for the whole game. We came off. Down the race at Marvel Stadium, Etihad at the time, people throwing scarves and memberships at us.
You got hit by a plastic membership.
Yeah, they were flinging them like ninja stars. Yeah, multiple.
They're dangerous. That gets you in the eye. That's chaos. Yes, John?
Did you just see? Did you see their thing on Instagram where someone smashed the front window in at the Carlton merchandise store?
Yeah, at Icon Park.
At Icon
Did they?
Park.
Yeah.
The cops are looking at one player from Richmond.
It was a funny tweet. A funny tweet from the Carlton Footy Club saying, due to the public holiday, the merchandise shop will be closed today, right? As if anyone was going to go down there and buy merchandise or memorabilia
exactly right.
after what they dished up Sunday night.
And I think the reason it was smashed was not to steal anything; it was to throw their membership tickets back in.
Yeah, there was more merchandise inside after the event. Hey, here's a comment to Bailey Fritch. If you're blessed with that much hair, why are you rocking that stupid haircut? Someone back me up here, please. Come on.
It's so bad.
Come on!
It's the shave on the sides and then the full... I guarantee you he's blow drying that. It's blowed all the way back. It kind of like fangs out to the
Brody,
side.
that man is blessed with so much thick, beautiful hair, and
Yeah,
that's
it's
what he's going with.
It's as bad as Brian Myers when he was rolling with the dreads. He was like
Jesus.
mid-20s. It's as bad as that.
Someone, if you know Bailey, you got to talk to him. Because I can't look at it.
Ben Keys also has a very bad haircut. He's one of your old mates, Brownie. Ben Keys, I don't know if you've seen it from Adelaide. Again, it's kind of that like really short on the sides and then just this big kind of like bouffant pushback. It's bad. It's bad.
Champion Data have been saying that Melbourne have been quite good all year, but they've just been unlucky, and you got to sort of believe that after. By the way, 26 seconds to go with one more stoppage. Did you think it was possible last night, John? Collingwood?
I did. Well, because Collingwood have done it so many times, haven't they? So you did believe, Dino. But Melbourne were the better team. If they had a kick straighter, they would have been 5 goals in front. They deserve to win, absolutely. Collingwood are a little bit flat. People say, they didn't have De Goey. Melbourne didn't have Clayton Oliver.
Yeah,
so
ever
I
heard
reckon
of him?
they cancelled each other out. But, Jesus, it was just a great game. It was great to see.
Thank you. Finally for the round, back to Sydney and that streaker.
Oh, yes.
That streaker, it was so refreshing to see, the cameras stay on and let the whole country watch the chaos. Dog, 12 security guards went after that guy.
Yeah, and couldn't get the job done properly.
Also, I love that, you know how in this world of red tape, everything's too dangerous? I love that the one thing that remains is how violently security guards go after streakers.
Oh, yeah. It's because for them, it's just a free hit. Right? That's why you're a security guard, right?
Yeah.
So you can try and pummel people, let's be honest.
Yeah,
You don't
well,
get too
they
many
didn't do a very
opportunities.
good job of it, though, Brown Dog, did they? Because
No.
there was 15 of them out there, and they were very slow. They need to do a bit of work. Because I remember the glory days. The good old days in the 80s and the early 90s when you go to the cricket, and the blokes, the security guards were coppers around, and they had the proper running spikes on. They were like professional sprinters.
Yeah.
And if you dare to try and run out and get to the centre wicket of the MCG, you'd have 5 Usain Bolts coming at you at 100 mile an hour.
You would, and that now everyone's priced out of streaking because the fine is just too exorbitant.
Yeah.
So as interest rates have gone up, not only can you not buy houses, affordably anymore, you can't streak anymore.
Bullshit.
$7.5 grand.
7.5. It is the lost art. Honestly, everyone enjoys it probably more than the game itself when it goes on.
The boys just used to all be in Bay 13. They go, I'll throw in 100. I'll throw in 100. Next minute, you've got $800. You're going to pay your $500 fine plus make a profit.
Yeah.
Now everyone's got to put in $1,000.
John?
I had the great fortune, in one instance had the great fortune of a couple of streaking incidents. One was at the Gabba in 2007, actually the night we played against Geelong. It was the last game of the year, and a couple of young blonde backpackers come storming onto the field and came past me, Helen D'Amico style.
Now, what did your
at the
eyes
Gabba.
do, John? Because the cameras can see where your eyes are going. Kylie Brown can see where your eyes are going, John.
I focused hard away from them. I focused hard as I could, but I must admit there was a bit of side-eye action going on, Tino. Don't you worry about that. My other great experience, not so great, was when I was 15 years old playing a cricket grand final in Warrnambool. There would have been about 30 people there. It was the opening morning of the cricket grand final, and this young buck, his mate dropped him off in the ute. He jumped the fence. I was fielding down a fine league. He came past me with just a pair of Dunlop KT26s.
Oh, yes.
And nothing else. And he had the biggest schlong of all time.
You're not going to be streaking if you've got a small
No,
cock.
you're not.
KT26s are worn by woodwork teachers and streakers. They're the two people.
It was unbelievable. He could have knocked the bales off with that big snake of his. He ran to the other side of the field, and then his mate picked him up on the other side of the field.
That's friendship.
Jumped the fence, in the car, and away they go.
Again, it was just refreshing for the coverage to watch that streaker, and then you had Hamish McLaughlin say the words, "You don't encourage it, but you tip your hat to him." That's unbelievable.
Over the journey, we've seen players actually try and crash tackle the streakers and everything.
Yeah.
Now, that leads me to what's going on in the AFL right now.
Yeah.
Because that sort of behaviour, you should encourage the streaker. If you're going to do anything,
Chaos.
maybe block a security guard or whatever to help him get away. We are seeing, JB, and I want to ask you about this, is the players' code, right, gone now amongst players after an incident or players, got reported, and we saw it 2 weeks in a row now. We've had to go with that bump.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we all knew that he was in trouble straight away. We love players being honest and open, and we do encourage that. But we had Dom Sheed get asked a question about the bump 2 weeks ago, and he said, deserves a month or two. 4 weeks or 8 weeks, pre-tribunal hearing.
And where was Dom when it happened to?
And
Where was any Eagle when it happened?
And you go, okay, well, maybe he's just caught up in the emotion of it. He's seen a friend get injured. Then this week, we've had Dane Zorko come out and was asked about the Sicily tackle, right? He said, I felt quite sick, actually, when I saw Hugh McCluggage on the ground motionless. He just got it wrong. Now, Sicily's referred to the tribunal. That's 2 weeks in a row that the opposition players have made comment about a player going to the tribunal that's going to get rubbed out. And back in my day...
Give us an example of the code.
Well, back in my day, and I got this from my old man, because through the 70s and the 80s there's incidents, and they always tried to protect the player that was up against it, because it's the right thing to do. You don't want to feel like you're dobbing on them.
And it might come back to you.
It might come back around. I was brought up with that code. That's why I helped get Juddy off that.
What was that incident?
The eye gouging incident in 07, which we discussed only a few weeks ago. JB, it seems
Did
now...
you think did he properly eye gouge you?
Yeah, he did.
Really...
But I just wanted to get him off.
And you said to the tribunal what?
That he didn't. And if a player even hits you, right? If a player even hits you, you'd go to the tribunal and you'd lie to the tribunal to be a good bloke to help that person get off to the establishment, right? Whereas now I think we're seeing players dobbing. It's just flat out dobbing, JB. And 2 weeks in a row, geez, it's sad to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, Brown Dog. It did get my attention, Dane Zorko's comments. Obviously, we saw Dom Sheeds. The players' code is dead, or it certainly looks dead from the outside. Now, back in our day, Brown Dog, we're sounding like dinosaurs at the moment, but I was under the assumption that there was fines when players would make comment on tribunal cases that were pending, because the AFL didn't want you to prejudice the case before the judgment. So where are the fines? So, yeah, I'm good mates with Dane Zorko. He's a ripping fella. Don't know Dom Sheed, but both those players should be fined. So whether you agree with the act or not, but at the end of the day, Jordan Ngoe, it wasn't a malicious attempt to go out of his way and clean a bloke up.
Yes.
And James Sicily, that's just an unbelievable situation where he's going to get, if he gets suspended for that, well, what does the game come to? So I would have thought every player, or most players in the competition, if they're not looking it through biased eyes because they played against them on the weekend, they would say James Sicily's was a fair tackle. What else could he have done? So we'll obviously talk about that a little bit more, but the players shouldn't be coming out and straying in to the waters of making judgment or passing judgment on players when a tribunal decision is pending.
Yeah, and especially Dane Zorko was reported recently himself for his hand making inappropriate contact to someone's face. Now, put himself in that situation. Imagine if an opposition player from that game came out and started saying, Dane Zorko's, doing this and that. He'd be pissed off. So why the are you talking about it? Another player, you know what I mean? So
I'm reminded of a beautiful quote, and that is "Dobbers kiss robbers." Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.
Spot on. I think that's what the AFL should send out the edict. Breno, Dobbers kiss robbers. Don't worry about the fines. That'll work.
Hey, I want Johnny to come on this podcast and thank you for lying.
Now, the big story out of the round, Marlon Pickett. How long do you think Australian coppers had been sitting on the charges waiting for him to play Fremantle Dockers?
Was that what it was, a jurisdiction thing?
No, I think they would have had all the info they needed, and they would have just said, we might as well just wait till he's here, and then we can question him.
Well, it becomes a what do they call when they not export
extradition?
Extradition. It becomes probably an extradition issue if they decide to try and charge him from interstate. Can potentially become an extradition issue because then they've got to go through the court system.
It would have been interesting.
They can't rely on Marlon Pickett turning up on his own free will.
JB, it would have been interesting if they decided to make the arrest the morning of the game, if there was a couple of coppers that were Fremantle Dockers supporters.
And they probably should have, actually, the way they went on Saturday night.
When this happened, when the robberies happened, was Marlon playing for Richmond?
Yes, it was December, January the year just gone.
Isn't that
allegedly
wild? Of course, allegedly, but isn't that wild? What's he earning?
500.
He's
been on 500 the previous couple of seasons.
I don't think it's about the money.
Gone backwards.
What, the
it's
thrills?
about the thrill of the chase, surely.
Mate, I like stealing stuff, to be fair.
But
not
presumption of innocence. Remember, presumption
allegedly
of innocence.
Of course it is.
We don't know shit.
But he's not the first AFL player that's done some funny stuff. Back in the early 2000s, there was rumours going around that certainly here in South Yarra and Toorak, the rich part of Melbourne, there was a thing called the hedge burner, right? He'd go around and the hedges, the beautiful hedges, well-manicured hedges of these really rich mansions in Toorak.
Did you know about this? This was huge.
Lit on fire.
This was huge.
No, so someone just lighting hedges on fire?
Yes.
A bandit, and their MO was going to rich people's houses and their hedges.
Now, there was rumours that was an AFL player.
An AFL player?
Yeah, a current AFL player at that time.
Do you guys know that it was, yes or no, John, without saying? Do you know if it was?
Yes, I'm pretty confident the Toorak hedge burner was an AFL player or players.
So, look,
is this common knowledge?
Just because you're an AFL player doesn't mean that you're not you're not going to get involved in some inappropriate behaviour.
Ben Cousins jumped into a river after drink driving to avoid the cops.
Yeah, and they did the triathlon. Remember that after that? Because then he got out and he ran for a bit. And
Unbelievable.
They did a proper Ben Cousins
Were the
triathlon.
cops looking for the person who was burning hedges?
Of course, mate. It was a massive deal.
So
down
they would
here.
have, had they apprehended the person, they would have pressed charges.
Well, I assume that there were hedges going up. There were hedges going up in flames
That is
on
wild.
midweek. It was always midweek. It was never
I
weekend.
think you guys saying those words would warrant a phone call from the cops to both of you. Now,
That's so long ago.
Jonathan, what do you say when the cops go, do you have any information on the hedge burner?
Well, I believe there's a statute of limitations, Dino. So because it's outside the 7 years, we just got off.
You made that
me
up.
and Brown Dog just got off the phone of the lawyers. We double checked with our man Quilly, and pretty sure Quilly said it's okay to make reference to it, but just don't name anyone.
That's wild.
Why are you holding up a sign saying Jason Dunstall?
I knew it was Chief.
Hang on a minute.
I knew it was Chief.
The
He
Chief
loves-
They would have
Wouldn't be able to move
thought.
quick
Imagine if you did the footprints after one of those hedges has been burnt. They would have thought the hedge burner was Bigfoot. Have you seen those big clubs that he's got? Those big
real
clubs
life.
that he's got on the end of his
Oh,
legs.
yeah. He's a big man.
We're going to take some ads and then talk about the big freeze because Chief was in there and he looked like Meatloaf, to be quite honest. He was Aquaman, but he looked like Meatloaf. Ads.
He did too.
Ads. Back in a second.
This is Brownie's Podcast.
Welcome back to Brownie's Podcast. You really can't say much more about Neil Danaher.
He should get a statue
Yeah.
at the front of the MCG.
Yep.
He should absolutely be Australian of the Year, before it's too late. And I think it's just, I mean, he was a great player, he was a great coach, but what he's done since he's got this disease has just been absolutely unbelievable.
When he walked down that Guard of Honour, it's just
He's
amazing
inspirational, mate.
scenes.
He's inspirational because a lot of people get dealt shit hands in life. And he's just taken it front on. He's thought, how can I get the best out of this shocking situation? He's always been so positive.
It's still funny, dog.
Mate,
He's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's ripping
He's
into
a very
Pang on the
funny
front
man.
bar.
proper inspiration.
You know how he does
I
that?
often walk.
Yeah, sorry.
I
go.
often walk past him, Dino, just near our place in Melbourne, and you just so much want to, because he's such an inspirational man and loved, and everyone you talk to him that really knows him intimately, knows him closely, they say just what a wise man he is, and with so many experiences and so many stories. And I just want to pull up and have a chat to him, sit on the park bench for a couple of hours and just pick his brains. But it's so challenging for him to talk. Like, I think now he's using a computer with his eyesight to help communicate with other people. But it was just
also-
amazing to think yesterday that 83,000 people were there, and obviously people donated from home. They raised up to 2.3 million
Yeah, it's
yesterday.
wild, hey?
Just an extraordinary figure, really.
And everyone knows that listen to my podcast, I'm not a great fan of Dan Andrews.
Yeah.
He donated $2 million as well, which is not that generous of him considering it's our taxpayers'
All
money.
right, mate.
So,
Just say thank you. Say it. Say thank you, Dan.
definitely not.
Say thank you, Dan. Yes, John.
Hey, what about the sliders? So we had some good sliders, some big names there. Mick Fanning was amongst them. Eric Banner was there. Of course, Taylor Harris came down to Sam Kerr.
Meatloaf.
But what about Michelle Payne's afternoon? The Melbourne Cup winning jockey, Michelle Payne,
Yes, Wonder Woman.
as Wonder Woman,
Yes.
and her brother Stevie pushed her down. About 5 minutes before she slid down the slide, she trained a winner at Mornington called Skyhorse that paid $10.40.
You know what, JB? She tipped me at last start at Sandown when it ran fourth. And I backed it, and it lost, and I didn't follow up. And I was very upset when it got the job done yesterday.
Shout out to Chief that went down as Aquaman, but he looked exactly like Meatloaf. Exactly like Meatloaf.
He actually did. That's a great pickup, Dano.
Speaking of racing,
should have sung.
What happened with your dog, John? Did it
Well,
win?
for Zulu, as we know in greyhound racing, there's 8 dogs in a race.
As we
And,
know,
you do
bro.
it.
As we know. Yes.
As we know,
Unless there's a vacant
if you-
box.
As
If
we
you
know.
draw a box 5,
Yes.
obviously, you have to jump, and you have to jump well, because otherwise, because it's better known as the squeeze box.
Okay, thanks.
Uh,
Thanks,
and
man.
he got squeezed. He
Yeah.
got absolutely crunched.
And people
Lucky
lost
he
their
survived,
money.
Actually got through, but
People
he'll
lost
be
their
back.
money.
Don't worry about that.
You came on this podcast and you said safest houses, all that bullshit, and yet again one of your animals was subpar. Now
Gamble responsibly.
Gamble
Dana.
responsibly. All right, so Dog, we don't have you for much longer, so I want to get this out before you have to take off. Brodie Pomeroy came in. He had the audacity to come into the studio wearing an open shirt and a gold chain the other day.
I know, and I took the mickey out of it. There it is. It's still around your neck.
Beautiful piece.
We got it assessed. I thought it might be worth about $11. JB thought it might be worth about $8.
So where'd you take it, John?
I took it down to the local pawn shop. Mm-hmm. There's one actually just 250 metres down the road. So when I say pawn, it's not the erotic place. It's actually a pawn swap where you buy and sell and swap and all those sorts of things. And he's very nice, the man behind the counter, Patrick. He was a big fan of Brownie's podcast. So, we had a warm audience. So this is good for Brodie. That means he's going to get maximum dollars.
Okay.
We were unbiased. I was down there with Beck.
Yes.
We just handed the merchandise over.
Yep.
This is Brodie Pomeroy's necklace. The initial gut feel, you think it's 24 carat, Patrick?
I'm sceptical.
I'd love to do this acid test on Brown Dog's brain, to be honest, to see if there's actually any activity going on inside that head of his.
Faux gold, I reckon.
Faux gold. Oh, wow. Faux gold.
Nah, that's no good.
So it's not even worth enough to actually sell it.
No,
So Brodie's necklace is worthless.
that's all right.
Now we're transparent. We're transparent and honest on this podcast, Brodie. What is it worth?
Hey, hang on a minute. That sounds doctored. I spent $180 of my own fine dime.
Hold up, Beck's the most honest person in this
Wow.
room. Our social media person, you were there. Was that doctored?
I saw it with my own eyes. Worthless.
Oh my God. So is there some significant purpose around that necklace? Like, is it was it
looks
a
good
gift?
for looks good for starters.
Right.
Yeah. So mainly for
John?
mainly
Now,
because it looks
Beck,
good.
Beck, just to paint the picture behind the scenes, Beck, we walked in there, first goal. It wasn't one of these situations where Beck goes to Patrick, okay, can we do that again and maybe say this or maybe go on another angle, and he didn't come out and say it's worth $150, but we want you to say it's worthless. That was our first take, wasn't it, Beck?
One shot wonder.
Roads.
Did he do all the adequate
Yeah,
testing? So he did the
mate.
acid test.
He
He
did
had
it.
the microglass thing that hovers
He
over
bit
it.
into it like a gold medal winner.
So you're telling me that the dodgy gold guy that I bought this off has lied to me
Yeah.
and sold me some fake gold?
Yeah.
Would you believe it? This bus trip's getting out. This footy trip we're going on is getting out of hand. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we're taking a full bus with punters to go watch Nathan Buckley play in the Carlton draft out Warrigal way. Your family are getting in touch with me, John. Mothy wants to come. Can he call you instead of me?
No.
Okay,
they know.
great.
They know, as you guys do, that I don't answer my phone.
Jesus.
And I'm not great at returning phone calls, so they go through you. I can't believe Coles hasn't got a mention, actually. They normally ring her. But I've got one question before you get into the voicemails, Dino. And this is a big question that I get asked a lot about. Has Brown Dog got the day off from his VFL commentary duties? Because obviously he stood us at the altar last year for our listener party.
Look, an email has gone out requesting permission, and I'm just awaiting to hear back.
Oh, you're a child requesting permission.
Well, the chain. We got to go up the chain and ask for. I can't just. It's a game of footy. It's television. It's live.
This must go all the way to the top. Can Dog please have the day off from VFL?
Yeah,
This
go
must
all
go,
the
I
way
don't know,
to-
Kerry Stokes.
Dear
This is
Kerry.
going Dear Kerry.
Because you're not coming, Brodie.
I'm on my honeymoon.
Yeah.
Well, that's
that's
fair
fair.
enough. You're not coming.
No, I'll be there. I'm pretty confident I'll be there. And if not, I'll just do what I did in Adelaide, just not rock up.
Yeah, great.
To the
I
VFL.
reckon Chris Johnson, Stakes, and Muggsy would all come, by the way.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
absolutely. Why wouldn't they?
The more the merrier.
Fantastic.
Here's some more submissions. If you want to be on the bus, send us a voicemail or a message. We're going to get to Waterworld in a second, but here's a couple more submissions.
Hello, team. OG Degenerate Chris G here. Now, I've had a bit of a dilemma. Ever since this bus idea came out, I've been sitting there going, no, don't worry, it won't be that good. You don't need to go, Chris. But then I've seen the lineup that are getting on this bus and I'm going, Jesus Christ, I'm going to get a bit of FOMO. Who the am I kidding? I need to be there. I need to be there with my crew, with the OG Degenerates from the WhatsApp crew. I want to be there and I want to give Bucks an absolute pasting that Collingwood. Get me there. Get me on the bus.
It's a strong submission.
Interesting.
It's a really strong submission.
Finally, a female.
Hi, I'm Rachel, long-time listener of Brownie's podcast and fanatical Brisbane Lions supporter. I want to get on this bus because there's too many blokes and not enough women.
True.
And I don't think that too much testosterone is a good thing. Mm-hmm. And I need to be on this bus to break up any shenanigans and keep an eye on you all on behalf of your missus. I'm also a nurse, so I can give first aid to any casualties.
Oh, yes.
And also, Brownie, you reckon you're the king of Melbourne? Well, you'll be talking to the Queen.
Boom.
Jesus.
There we go.
Having a nurse.
That's a definite in. We need a first aid nurse, absolutely. So Rachel has to be in. I agree, because it is a bit of a sausage fest.
Yes. Next. What a world. Don't move.
This is Brownie's Podcast.
Welcome back to Brownie's Podcast. What are you holding
Well,
in your hands?
I was just up in Brisbane over the weekend, just doing what I do, having a few drinks, going for dinner, laying poolside. I bumped into Hutchie, who's my boss, at SK having dinner, and he got on radio the next day. He does off the bench with Pickers every Saturday, and I couldn't believe it. He had me in his crosshairs. Really? I don't know if he's taking the piss here or not, but have a listen.
I'll tell you who's already holding court up here, Picks. I'll tell you who is the unofficial mayor. He took the town RBE in Melbourne. That's what Stradbroke is in Brisbane. Campbell Brown walks in and reclaims the state as his own, Picks. What do you mean? You've never seen him in more control. He's got his own event on. He's got his own... What do you mean his own event? He had the most famous jockeys in the country as his guest at dinner last night. Who did he have? They're all gathered around. Give us some names. Oh, yeah, Glenn Bosses and your Nashville Willers, and he was hosting it was the Brown Dog Show. Never seen anything like it, Pix. They came from other industries. He's a great uniter. Oh, boy. We're all living in his world, Pix.
I don't know if he's being facetious or not there.
Jesus.
But I was doing my thing out there, and he seemed to enjoy it.
I reckon he's intimidated by you. Why would he bring that up? I reckon your boss is worried about you taking him over. Yes, John?
Spot on. The great uniter. That's quite ironic considering what we've just spoken about, the fact that he didn't turn up to our listening party last week.
Also, Hutchie didn't mention the vape cloud that you're sitting in either, which is nice of him not to, really.
Yeah, it was good.
It's time for...
What a world. Now, an American woman who in 2007, you might recall, she made some news. Her name was Erica Labrie. She's a 50-year-old. She has a romantic fascination with inanimate objects. So she got married to the Eiffel Tower, flew over to Paris, had a proper ceremony, and married the Eiffel Tower back in 2007.
That's nice.
I'm not sure how she's gone about being intimate with the Eiffel Tower. I mean, the one thing we do know about
the
Eiffel Tower, it never has any problem in being erect.
I'd like to be intimate with the big pineapple. Continue.
She's split up with the Eiffel Tower, and is now, and she's quite upset because she's ended that relationship, but she's now attracted to a fence, which she's getting quite acquainted with. This woman characterises herself as objectum sexual, which is a phrase for someone who is drawn romantically or sexually to inanimate items. So there you go. She can't find a human. She's been married to the Eiffel Tower, now separated, and she's found a nice white picket fence. What goes on?
Hey, have a great week. We've got a big podcast ahead of round 14, and if you want to be on that bus, send us a voicemail on Instagram, but don't come at me on WhatsApp. I don't do admin, man. You're the producer.
Head to Brownie's Podcast Instagram and leave us a voice message.
John?
And thanks again to the degenerates for listening. You've been magnificent.
That's very kind.
Keep up the good work.
That's heartfelt, isn't it? Beck, you got anything?
Got nothing.
Okay, thanks.